Hello everyone. Hello everyone. Hello everyone. Hello everyone. We'll talk about Acts chapter 25 from verse 23. Today we'll talk about Acts chapter 25 from verse 23. And on the morrow when Agrippa was come and Bernice with great pomp and was entered into the place of hearing with the chief captains and was entered into the place of hearing with the chief captains and principal of Paul was brought forth and Fettus commanded and all men which are here present with us, ye see this man about South America in the month of April. And actually I just Mr. President, as you are ruling over Paraguay, I want Paraguay to be blessed. Mr. President, as you are ruling over Paraguay, I want Paraguay to be blessed. And when you see Act 13 verse 22, when I see one president receiving forgiveness of sin, receiving salvation and changing, I was so thankful. And those that I meet 27 often, I meet them maybe 5-6 times. Those that I meet often, I meet them maybe well by faith because I have not much faith. But when I see how God is working through me, I'm so grateful to see Him work. And he examined my body as healthy as a young man. Instead, my blood is so clean. So I'm not doing anything particular. I'm just staying and doing the work of the gospel. Paul, he went all the way to Rome and he almost died. But as I visited many countries, I met the president of many countries, and I met ministers who work with many government and work with school. Last year for 1 year, we needed more missionaries, ministers of French-speaking ministers. So in order to train local ministers, so we invited about 50 pastors abroad in the French-speaking regions. Actually, we originally scheduled a 3 months long program, but because of COVID-19, they stayed there for 5 months. One of them was pregnant, and she came to Korea, and she delivered her baby in Korea. And she said because she had the baby here in Korea, it was so good, she said. And also even the ambassador came, and the ambassador gave me also an envelope full of money, expressing his gratitude for helping the people of his country. So he also gave an envelope to all the participants of our programs, and we got very close to the ambassador. As we maintained this kind of relationship with ministers and also the governor of the city of Abidjan of Côte d'Ivoire, he is preparing to build our center for us. And as we are working with and we're also training members of the church, and we also started, and most pastors studying, there are about 8,000 student pastors are learning in our school. They are all pastors. Although I'm not good at anything, but I can see how God is opening the path for us to preach the gospel. Otherwise, how can I preach the gospel like this? And I'm so thankful to see God working through us. Last year, I couldn't meet the president of El Salvador. But next time, if I have a chance, I would like to meet him. Although I'm preparing to meet him, the president wanted to meet me then. Also, the principal of the theology school in Mexico was very close to the president of El Salvador, so they invited me to come to see the president, but I couldn't meet him. But anyway, I met all the 4 other presidents. I was so happy to meet other presidents. I wondered why would God let me meet those presidents. I think it was to preach the gospel. And all those who became president and all those became president when they heard the gospel, their influence was great, especially as the king of Eswatini received salvation. He gave us land. He helped us do the construction, and he said, "Oh, Pastor, build your house here. Pastor, build in this house." So because of COVID-19, past for the past year, I couldn't see him then. But as we preach the gospel, I can see how God is so happy to so that we would be more than able to fill up the country with the hand of the gospel. When I see when we see the hand of the Lord upon us, we are so thankful as well. Although I'm not good at anything, but as I received salvation in 1962, in our church, when I first received salvation, I talked about the gospel, but I was isolated. And also my friends, they looked at me with strange eyes, with doubtful eyes. And once there was a room where our young people of the church got together and to talk and hang out. And when I held the doorknob, I could hear many people inside, and I heard people they talking about me. Oh, Pastor Ock Soo Park is such a punk. He's a funny guy. I know him, but he says he doesn't have a sin. And I almost opened the door and wanted to go walk inside and say, "What did you just say?" But I just let go of the doorknob and I came out. There were many friends that were close to me. I didn't know anybody else but the people of the church, but they all isolated me, and it was very painful to me. And I was so lonely, and it was so painful. But not long later, in Sunsan, where I was, one Dutch missionary came, and as we got connected to him from the mission, they started missionary school. Those missionaries, and as we got connected to that mission school, we were trained there, and after the training, all other people, all other trainees, they were invited, but I didn't want it to go anywhere else. And so I had nowhere to go because nobody invited me. But then I remembered one place where we went to witness once. So I went there in Apgokdong to do the work of the gospel, and people they arose there from there to receive salvation. And the sister who received salvation, she changed so much, and she was 22 years old, older than me. I was only 21 years old back then, and she was 20 years older than me. And we loved each other so much, although she had husband, but I loved her so much as a sister. And if we were young enough, if she had not gotten married, I would have married her. She was so precious and she worked hard so well for the work of the gospel. And so many people they changed. And once I met the son and I talked about the mother, and actually the mother used to be very sensitive because she was always very she always was complaining about the situation because they could not take good care of their children. But once to sell her stuff, she came to Apgokdong. She stopped by, and she heard the gospel there. She got saved, and although she didn't want to do the work of the gospel when I was gonna leave Apgokdong, but I told him in a letter take an oath, and that's when she went and preached the work of the gospel. Although she was not good at Korean because she was from Japan, she kept telling me that, "Oh, Pastor, I'm not good at this. I don't want this." I told the sister, are you ignoring me? Are you despising me because I'm young?" She said, "No, Pastor, I'm not despising you." And all her life in deep mountain, She was running this small church, she saved many people. She saved many people who were demon possessed, and many workers of the gospel, they got saved. Oh, even through me, people are being saved. That was when I was in Apgokdong. Nobody got saved for the first 4 months. It was just some young students, young ladies who got saved, and then some old ladies, and a Sister Son got saved. And through Sister Son, I could see God work amazingly through her. And her son said, before, there are many people who have gone to heaven before me, and I think I will join them soon. But I'm so thankful to the Lord for giving me this healthy body, and I'm so thankful for Him to opening the path for us. So that's the word. When I son of Jesse, David son of Jesse is a man after mine own heart. We are not supposed to be good at anything else. When we see the heart of God, when you put our heart together with the heart of God, God is pleased to use us for His work. If God makes up His heart to work for us, no matter what we do, it wouldn't matter. For the past 60 years that I lived in the Lord, sometimes I had stomach ache, I went through difficulties. I also once went to the United States and see the specialist of hearts, but he couldn't heal me, treat me. But in 1999, in the month of July, my heart was totally healed then. And from time to time, as the Oriental doctor of Elder Huang of our church, he would check my pulse and say, "Oh, my heart is very good and healthy." I never thought that I would live this healthy and this well. I'm so thankful for His grace. Ministers of the gospel of the world around the world, they are so surprised, and they have their hearts open toward us. And when I heard people being amazed at it, I wondered if this is true or if I'm not dreaming or something. But when I see I'm so weak and I'm so fleshly, but God loved me and He changed me so much, and God saved me. He did work of the gospel through me, and I'm so thankful to the Lord. In Argentina, in South Pole, we started a church there. So the pastor of Argentina, he invited me there. They said this is the end of the land. Once the senator of Anchorage visited our church, so he talked to me. I preached the gospel to him for about 30 minutes. Especially, they're very thankful about us. When the minister, when they first came to Korea as a soldier, they were only 18, 17 years old. So when they came to Korea as a soldier, I was only 7 years old back then. So they were about 13 years older than me, or 10 years older than me. Because they're 13 years older than me now. They're 80 something now. They're 89 years old. So most of them, they have passed away. And only about 10 of them are still alive. They said that even if the war breaks out again in Korea, if they were young again, they would fight for Korea, they said. Because of them, we were able to live this well. And I'm so thankful to see God working. When I see God working through us, what is He happy of? He washed all our sins on the cross. But people, when they hear, "Oh, Pastor Ock Soo Park, what are you doing? Oh, just go preach the gospel. God, I think the Lord is like chastising me to go preach the word of God as soon as possible. Although I'm not a droid, I'm weak, but God keeps opening the path for me. I don't think I can keep I keep my spiritual life for the past 60 years. Sometimes there are young ministers who run away. There are one or two of them. I understand. Also in my life, I wondered if I'd be able to continue to do this kind of work. There were times like that too. But as the Lord, I'm so thankful that I was able to preach the gospel until today. Today, today is the last hour, but as we read chapter 25, the Felix, the governor, and Ephesus, the governor, and King Agrippa, and all these kings and leaders, people of authority, Paul met them, and he could have said, "Oh, please help me, I have no sin," instead of saying all that. Each time he stood before them, he preached the gospel, and when I see how he did that, this is so amazing and beautiful. Oh, Felix did not, although uh, Felix and Phaedrus didn't seem to receive salvation, but also they stood before God later. They came to discover what Christianity is, and they came to discover who Paul really was. He was not a bad person. God is with him, and I can see how they must have had that kind of heart. So, so in chapter 26 and 27, it talks about the testimony of Paul. King Agrippa later says, "Oh, Paul, you are crazy. Your knowledge made you crazy." Actually, he was really living a kind of life that people may accuse him of being crazy because he didn't take care of himself. He didn't look after himself. He just lived for the gospel alone. And before going to Jerusalem, he knew that he was going to get arrested, as the prophets had prophesied, and many members of the church told him not to go into Jerusalem. Then Paul said, "Why do you cry and hurt my heart? I know I'm even ready to die in Jerusalem." As he's saying that, you can see how he's going to Rome. So we are seeing how Paul is going for Rome now, and Paul kept preaching the gospel, and this precious work that God did through Paul. This was so amazing. If we try to protect ourselves and work for ourselves, that must be very foolish to do that. Whenever you go through difficulties and problems, instead of I doing it, but if the Lord does it for us, there is nothing better than that. The future of your children, and also the old days of our pastors. Oh, if I grow old, how am I gonna make my living, do my living? Where am I gonna live? While we worry about that, God cannot take care of us. Instead of worrying about our future, if we think about the gospel, the Lord would work for us. Once my aunt was going to Presbyterian church, she said, things like, "Oh, Pastor Ock Soo Park is doing wrong," and I went to visit her because she was saying those things. And she told our family members that I embezzled, and I asked her who said that, and she said, "Oh, I saw people saying that." So because she's older than me, she's elderly, I cannot fight her. But later she said, "Oh, Pastor Park, I heard that you are in a big church. Oh, bring me the salary, then I'll buy an apartment for you later." And if we buy an apartment, I'll be better than old lady, right? But as I came out, I felt like, actually in my heart, I bought an apartment in my heart. But it's not. If I felt like, "Oh, Pastor Park, you are well prepared for your future, for your old days, and I don't have to help you then, right? And I almost fainted when I came to think that.
내가 아파트 하나 만들어 놓고 예수님 없으면
I may have an apartment if I have no Jesus with me, then
내가
which is better?
지금까지 나를 이끄신 예수님,
The Lord who helped me until now,
지금까지 나를 도와주신 예수님,
the Lord who helped me until now,
지금까지 나에게 은혜를 베푸신 그 예수님.
Jesus who helped me until now, who bestowed His grace
세상의
upon me
어느
until now.
왕자라도
No matter
어느 대통령 아들이라도
no matter what prince or no matter what a son of a president,
그저 섬세하게 지키시고
we can see how God is
위장이 아파 고통했을 때 위장을 값없이 고치시고
taking care of us precisely.
심장이 아파 고통할
And when I had a heart problem, when I had a stomach problem, God healed my stomach.
여러분 어려움을 당할 때마다
And each time we went through
내 마음이
difficulties,
어려움에 빠지고
my heart may fall into difficulties.
하나님이 힘을 주 내 마음의 어려움을 이기게
God gave me strength and let me overcome those difficulties.
이제 저도 나이가 많아졌습니다.
And now I'm old in
앞으로
age.
얼마 더 사는지
I don't know
모르겠지만
how long I would live from now on.
너무 재밌는 나라가
But Korea, such
옛날
a
평균 연령이 얼마 안 됐는데
before the average lifespan was not
내가 죽을 때 가까운데
big,
20년 이상 평균
but now I'm close to my end day, my end. But average lifespan increased by 20 years. So I think we're gonna maybe in soon our average lifespan will go up to maybe 100. Maybe I will then live up to 100 years old. I'm just thinking like that.
하나님께서 하나에서 열이면 열, 백이면 백.
But anyway, from 1 to
내가
100,
날 위해 뭐 일하고 내가 나를 지키려고 했던 것하고
versus what I did for myself, versus what God did for me, these two are not comparable. What God did for me is way better than what I did for myself.
한마디도 안 하더라.
Paul never said anything for himself.
왕 앞에나 총독 앞에나
Before the governor, before the prime minister, before the captain of thousand,
때가 되면
each time he
자기 생각하는
had a
앞에
chance,
총독 불사에게 복음 전하려고
he found the governor pitiful and he tried to preach the gospel to the captain of thousand.
바울이 바울을 지키는 것하고
So Paul protecting himself versus God protecting Paul, God protecting him was way better. No matter how we may try to protect ourselves,
예수님 날 위해 준비한 의하고 비교가 안 되고
what God has prepared for us is much better.
되기 때문에 내가 주님을 위해 살고
So as we live for the Lord,
주님을 내 자신 드리면 주의 모든 게 내 것이 되기 때문에
because
삶에 너무나 복되고
oh, you can see how everything,
하나님께서 우리를 사랑하셔서
as God loves us,
우리를 구원해 주시고
He helped us and saved
하나님 우리
us,
속에 그 귀한 은혜와 긍휼을 베푸셔서
as He bestowed His grace upon us, and as He helped us,
감사합니다.
and I'm so thankful for His grace.
저희 아들을 딸에게 어릴 때 마인드 교육을 가르쳤습니다.
I taught mind education to my son and daughter. I taught them self-control.
서로 이렇게 사고하는 방법을 가르치고
I taught them how to think and how to communicate.
제가 제 아들이 있고 며느리와 딸이 있지만
I have a daughter, I have a son.
아이들이 내가 이제 나이가 많으니까 기억력도 적고 그래서 뭐 아이들 볼 때는
Because I'm old in age,
늙었는데
in the eyes of my kids, I look old.
나를 거스리거나 내가 왜 아버지 그렇게 해서
But they never spoke against me. They never disobeyed me. I'm so grateful for that.
다른 집 아이들 부자 잘 살며 자식들하고 싸우고
Many kids in the world, they fight with their siblings because of the possessions of their parents. And there's nothing better than meeting Jesus as a possession, as heritage. And I'm so thankful to see God working for us. Once I was standing trial, but someone took the picture of the house where my son was living, and the prosecutor showed me the picture and said, "Do you know this house?" I know. And they said, "Do you pay the rent?"
왜 안 내느냐고.
I said, "No, we don't pay the rent." "Why not?" the prosecutor asked me.
교회 집에서 한 집세 내겠는가.
As the pastor lives in the church, does he pay the rent? No.
지역에 외부의 손님들이 오면 있을 데가 없고 한국 손님 많이
Because when people they come to visit us in New York,
있나 그래서
we needed some place where they could stay, so we had some houses. But the houses were so expensive, they changed the title. They changed the document. It all belonged to the church. Otherwise, they would have maybe accused me of having many houses. But because they were all under the name of the house, they couldn't say anything about it.
고발하려고 누가 그 미국까지 가서 그
Some people, they, in order to accuse me, they went all the way to New York and they took the picture of our house.
너무너무 감사했어. 그들이
So I was so thankful.
막 그랬는데 손끝만한 거 하나 찾지 못하고
But they couldn't find any fault, any flaws.
지금 막 검사 같은 재판을 받고
Now the prosecutor who accused me, he's now undergoing a trial, and I'm so grateful for the Lord.
속에 세상 사람 다 죽어도 죽지 않는 분 한 분 계세요. 하나님 살아계세요.
People of the world, they may die, but there's one that doesn't die. That's God. You know, when we die, you know
바라보는 사람 중 그런
how
나는 영원히
how vain that is. But God is always alive. As the last chapter of Matthew and last verse, it says, "I'll be with you until the end of the world." It says.
그래서 정말 그 예수님 앞에 내 남은 인생을 드리고
So as I give my life to that
예수님
Lord,
말을 지킨다면
and if that Lord protects my life, there will be nothing more perfect than that.
딴건 몰라도 예수님이
I don't know anything else, but in order to let Jesus work for me, I didn't prepare anything for my old days. I'm just living like this.
그렇게 사는데
But as I live like this,
아파트 사주려고 막 교회에서 장로들이 막 그랬는데
there were some members of some elders who wanted to buy a house, an apartment for me, but I told them not to. If I have an apartment, I told them to buy an apartment for all the pastors, so they didn't.
좋은 밥을 먹고 좋은 차를 타고 좋은 삶을 살면서
So as we are living good life,
복음의 길을 열어 주셔서
and as I see how God is opening the path for us, we are so thankful to see God
사도행전 읽어보면서
as we read the book of Acts.
CTN 방송이 끝나기 때문에 새로운 그 녹화를 해야
As we are done with CTN, we have to record new videos.
하면
So today and tomorrow we're gonna do it. I think we'll be done with the book of Acts,
27장,
where
28장 세 개 장이 남았는데
we have 3 chapters left: 26, 27, 28.
잘 전하지 못해
Although I'm not good at preaching, but I'm sorry.
죄에게 너무 힘이 돼.
But this gives me so much power to preach the word.
우리 앞에 간 주의 종 바울이나 베드로
And also the Paul and Peter who went before us,
부족한
they were imprisoned, but because I'm lacking servant, God didn't send me to prison.
하는 게 너무
God gave me enough food. I'm so thankful for it.
교회 안에 구원받은 장로님들이
And also the members,
마음으로 교회를 위해 일한 게 너무 아름답고
when I see God working in the church and doing this precious work, I'm so thankful to our brothers and sisters.
우리나라에 새로운 많은 전도자들이 일어나서
More
일을 이어서
ministers of the gospel would arise from our church and grow as precious workers of the gospel.
주님 오실 때까지
And until the day that Jesus comes,
참된 복음을 전하는
they would preach this precious gospel. I hope that these workers would continue to rise from our church,
한 사람 한 사람은 말미암아
and through those precious servants,
전해주셔서 하나님 제일 기뻐할 게 뭐겠습니까?
what would he be pleased of?
가장 기뻐하실
Oh, he saved. I think that's what he would be pleased of the most.
주여 죄인입니다 하는
There's so many people just saying, "Oh, I'm sinner, Lord," but how much he would feel stuffy about it.
기뻐하시게 하고 예수님의 피가 헛되지 않고 그 죄에서 건져냈더니 놀라운 사를 전해서
But he saved us.
이런 복음을 전할 때
So as we preach this gospel,
좀 더
we're so thankful.
여러분 세계 주님 더 가까이 가서 나를 위해 사는 시간 적어지고
And as we live less for ourselves, and we spend less time for ourselves, and we work less for ourselves, but as we do more work for the Lord, and when we give ourselves for the Lord,
더 좋은 삶.
and as God lead us, I think there will be nothing more blessed than that.
말할 수 없는 고난, 핍박, 상상할 수 없는 어려움을 겪습니다.
Paul went through a lot of hardship and difficulties,
이렇게 복된 삶을 살게
Sometimes I'm ashamed, sometimes I'm not good enough. But Paul didn't excuse or he didn't speak for himself, but he just did the work of he just tried to preach the gospel to them, and I'm so thankful to see God who let us do this precious work. Well, thank you. We'll see you next time again. Take care.